Alright everyone, so today we've got some pretty huge news for Black Ops 7, but not really just for Black Ops 7, for Call of Duty pretty much in general. I did not expect to see this news today when I logged into Twitter, but apparently it looks like Activision is listening to players about the SBMM. Of course, I'm sure there's more to it than that, but we actually got a whole playlist that dropped earlier today that includes little SBMM compared to the standard playlist. It's called Open Mosh Pit. Now I played a couple of matches back to back to kind of get my thoughts in for this video, so let's just dive right on into it. So the biggest piece of news for today, there's a lot of changes that they've been making to the beta so far, but genuinely the biggest piece of news has got to be the SBMM situation. So since the early access beta started, pretty much everybody who's been playing it, who's been kind of voicing their opinions online, has been saying that SBMM is a problem. And I agreed with this because after playing a couple of matches myself of the multiplayer, I felt that there were so many solid elements in Black Ops 7, but the biggest issue that I felt was hindering my enjoyment of the game was most certainly skill-based matchmaking. You go positive for like one game and then all of a sudden you're playing against absolute sweats. It was a very complicated sort of situation. A lot of people were really dissatisfied with it, and I felt personally that if there was anything that would sway people's opinions on Black Ops 7, other than it being very similar to Black Ops 6, it would have to have been SBMM. So Treyarch announced earlier today that they would be dropping a playlist called Open Mosh Pit. It's live now. Basically, you've got the same maps and the same modes as the regular playlist, but skill consideration has been reduced. So it's not 100% zero skill-based matchmaking, but it's significantly reduced and more related to your ping. So more like you're going to be matched with people in your general location rather than just based off of skill, which is kind of one of the reasons why matches would always take so long to load in prior to this sort of change. When I was playing the standard playlist yesterday, it was definitely a really slow matchmaking process, but today I just clicked on Open Mosh Pit, start game kind of a thing, and then it's like an instantaneous, you're matched with a lobby. It was actually quite shocking how fast the matchmaking was today. So Treyarch says that their goal is to provide more varied match experiences and outcomes, so you're going to be matched with players of various skill differences. So obviously this is a very welcome change, but the thing is, it did take pretty much years of negative feedback, complaints, just people talking about it constantly, some people daily, about how SBMM is ruining the Call of Duty experience. And it's quite interesting to see the timing of when they actually decided to do this. So a couple of things that I think caused this change. Number one, Battlefield 6's competition. I think competition from Battlefield 6 has sort of been the biggest threat for Black Ops 7 this year. I know a lot of people want to think that Call of Duty will always outsell. While that may be true in some capacity, that Call of Duty will typically outsell most games, I think the general sentiment around Black Ops 7 has been pretty negative from the onset, and Battlefield 6 came swooping in with an experience that Call of Duty players and fans have been missing. So I think that the competition has certainly spurred Activision to make these changes, because they are listening to a lot of the player feedback this time around in a way that I actually haven't really seen in a while. Also, the negative feedback surrounding SBMM this time has been really strong. A lot of content creators, a lot of just regular players, people have been kind of voicing their opinions online, and pretty much everybody I'm seeing has been saying that SBMM was a problem in Black Ops 7. So I think that's another factor as to why they introduced this Open Mosh Pit. I also think in a way that they want to recover some players, because when we look at the figures of how many people actually played the Black Ops 7 beta in the first day and then the Battlefield 6 beta in the first day, it's like night and day. So both of them, I believe it was like at the time like kind of restricted access, but you could get codes pretty easily. But Battlefield 6, I think it peaked at almost 500,000 concurrent players on Steam. We're talking Steam numbers here on the first day. And then Black Ops 7 was 74,000. And the thing is, with the Black Ops 7 figures, that's actually combining people who are playing Black Ops 6, Warzone, and Black Ops 7. So definitely a pretty abysmal performance in comparison to Battlefield 6. And so I think that that's kind of scaring Call of Duty just a bit here. And so we also know that because Call of Duty is owned by Xbox, earlier this week, they made that sort of announcement of hiking the Game Pass price, and that's kind of been giving them a lot of negative backlash. And also Call of Duty is now locked behind the most expensive $30 $30 tier. So for a lot of people, I guess they were kind of not planning on playing Call of Duty if it wasn't going to be on Game Pass, and then they're not going to pay $30 a month. So I think there's a couple of reasons as to why they're listening to this feedback so much, but overall it was a welcome change in my opinion. However, I think one of the issues that I have is that most of the people who will be gravitating towards this, and it's an experiment right now for Treyarch, but most of the people who are going to be gravitating towards playing Open Mosh Pit are most likely going to be good players who are kind of bored of SBMM. So I feel like the results are still going to be in a way kind of skewed. Had they just made like everything no SBMM, then I think you would have had a more reasonable experiment. But I mean, when I was playing, I noticed that a lot of games people would just leave at some point, and so you would get people coming in and going to lobbies. So I think that that's really not going to help the result, but I am hoping that we can get something positive out of this and that SBMM just goes away from Call of Duty forever, because why do we have skill-based matchmaking in a casual public match? I will never understand. This is not ranked. But aside from this, that was the biggest piece of news, so I did want to spend the bulk of a video on that, but they are making more changes as well to the time to kill and weapon tuning. So the Dravik 45 and M8A1 they found were being used a lot, so they're gonna make them a little bit closer to the average performance of the other weapons. They said that they want to make the time to kill a little bit closer to Black Ops 6, so they are working on kind of analyzing a couple of factors to adjust this. Another complaint that a lot of people had were the automatic doors, so they actually did adjust some of the doors in a couple of the maps, making some of them stay permanently open, as well as kind of adjusting the time that the doors will stay open after being opened. I felt today as I was playing though in the Open Mosh Pit that the spawns were absolutely egregious. Like, I would spawn in and there would just be somebody basically kind of camped in our spawn, and I would just die like 2-3 times in a row. So they said that they adjusted the spawns, but I feel like today particularly they were way worse than the last 2 days I was playing Black Ops 7. They also did fix the weapon XP earn rate. That was kind of a big problem that, you know, personally I felt was really annoying, is just how slow it was. So at least they are listening for the multiplayer. Hopefully they will be listening to some of these zombies feedback as well, but for the most part it feels like this might be one of the first times in years that they've actually been addressing feedback almost instantaneously. And the fact that they're responding to the SBMM complaints is probably the biggest Call of Duty news in ages. This is, for me at least, genuinely a shocking moment, because I was not expecting them to even acknowledge the SBMM problem in the slightest, because Treyarch did say it's not up to us. Activision is kind of the one that takes care of that sort of decision, and then you've had some major content creators just telling them constantly year after year since Modern Warfare 2019, remove SBMM, and they didn't listen. So maybe if player reception for Open Mosh Pit is good, if the data shows that people are actually happy with no SBMM, then they'll keep it. I don't know. I'm like on the 50-50 here. Like, they might not. I'm hoping that SBMM goes away for good from Call of Duty, because that would genuinely make Black Ops 7 a completely different experience. But at the same time, I kind of doubt it, because they've kept it for so long and they said that the data shows that it's good, things like that. But we might get a great Call of Duty title if they actually listen to this feedback like they are doing currently. Anyways though, I am excited for Battlefield 6. It's dropping in a few days, and I think Call of Duty seriously has some competition this year, and if they keep responding, if they keep the game more grounded, more like it should be, they keep a good theme for it, I think that it could be a good year for both franchises. And I would like to play both, because I am a fan of both Call of Duty and Battlefield. But in any case, pretty big day of news here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, if you're going to be trying Open Mosh Pit or not. Like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, set to all, so you never miss out on another upload. And that's all for today, folks.